Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel, We're the Movie Couple. I'm Wendy.
I'm Dustin.
And this is our non-spoiler review for Black Widow. Natasha Romanoff confronts the darker parts of her ledger when a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past arises. Pursued by a force that will stop at nothing to bring her down, Natasha must deal with her history as a spy and the broken relationships left in her wake long before she became an Avenger. Black Widow. You guys, this is a movie we've been waiting and waiting and waiting forever to see because it was, first of all, I stand by that I feel like this should have came out before.
Yes.
Regardless of like what we saw at Endgame by the Infinity War, I felt like she, as an Avenger, we've seen her since Iron Man 2. Her introduction.
Yeah, she's been around for a while. She's kind of deserved.
Felt like she needed this earlier, but nonetheless, we're so glad it's finally here after all the delay because of the pandemic and all that stuff. It is finally hitting theaters on July 9th. This movie takes place after Civil War, so we've seen that, you know, Natasha is on the run. She's trying to kind of go off the grid because, and they're coming after her saying, you know, she's violated the Sokovian Accord and things like that. And one of the things I was really looking forward to, because we've seen all the Avenger films, we've seen, you know, all the standalone films, but Natasha specifically, I was really interested in see how they would do it, because she doesn't have like a suit that's enhanced.
Yeah.
She doesn't have super soldier serum. Her and Hawkeye basically have just highly skilled.
They're highly skilled humans.
Yeah, they're highly skilled regular human.
No suit, no lightning, none of that stuff. But what she is a spy. So she's able to vanish very well. And she's able to take care of her own little espionage problems. And trying to track someone like Black Widow down is going to be a little difficult for whoever's trying to follow her.
Yeah, and my favorite thing about Black Widow, especially when we saw in the first Avengers film, where it seemed like she was held hostage, she was on the phone, it looked like she was kind of, you know, maybe her back is up against the wall, and she was like, ha! Gotcha. Just wasted all of your time so we can track you down. And I was excited to see them doing more things like that, explore things like that in this film, because we hadn't really quite seen, maybe so a little bit in like Winter Soldier, a little espionage-y.
Yeah, that's where we saw the most.
But I feel like this one's a more true like spy thriller, which you guys know, like if you guys know me, I love me a good spy thriller. I think it's fantastic. So, but this is kind of like that, but with the MCU style.
Yeah, and they do a really good couple of moments to where you see, like, in the first Avengers movie, when Natasha looks like she's held hostage, and she's actually getting information. What she did to Loki, and, you know,
right.
To where she fools Loki. What they do very well in this movie is they have that kind of espionage it shows how good Natasha is at doing what she does.
And it also shows, you know, her past, and we know that she's been, you know, kind of brought up in the program, like the Widow's program. She's talked about the Red Room. She's talked about the blood on her ledger. What is that exactly? We do find that out in this film, but seeing that this is a non-spoiler review, we won't quite get into it specifically, so you won't get anything spoiled for you before you see the movie for yourself. But you can tune in for a spoiler review that's going to be on our Patreon page in the coming days. This movie also brought in Florence Pugh as her sister Yelena, which if you've seen any of her work, whether it's like Fighting with My Family or what's that horror movie? Midsummer. Anything that she's been, I've really, Little Women, I've just really enjoyed her performance in each and all of these movies, you know, different type of characters, different genres of film, and I was very excited to see, you know, her on-screen action film was, you know, she can do action already, but, you know, also kind of in the same space of like the, you know, within the MCU, so I was excited to see that, and I will say, she really steals all the scenes.
She
does. Not to downplay Scarlett Johansson's acting skills, because she's got Black Widow down packed. But we haven't seen Florence Pugh, you know, in the MCU yet, and it's, oh man, she's fantastic.
I really liked her performance in this, and it really does. One of the things that really held this movie together too was the relationship between Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh. Yeah. I think that they had a really good kind of like that sisterly relationship, to where still they butt heads, but they're still always there on each other's backs, kind of thing, to support each other.
Absolutely. And I will say this movie Act 1 was real strong. Like, it starts off so strong. There's drama, there's like emotions attached to it where you're kind of feeling all sorts of ways, and it gets kind of dark. But then it does lighten up in, I would say, kind of the second act before we kind of get all serious and actiony again for the third act. The second act, I would say, focused a bit more on David Harbour's character as well as Rachel Weisz's character. You know, they play Red Guardian and Melina respectively. So I will say, I, first of all, love David Harbour.
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic, and there's a lot of such great moments that he brings to this film, but I really felt like they focused a bit more on the Red Guardian more than necessary, and it didn't really pay off for me. Like, I felt where they were trying to get to, you know, kind of like the father figure sort of a deal, a little bit of the comic relief. He's great at that. The timing is great. But I felt that there were certain moments that I would have liked to see kind of flow through a little bit more without that comedic interruption. At sometimes, there was a lot of comedic moments that I chuckled very hard at because I thought they were great.
But that is one of the things, is that I do think that the movie was going really strong and high when it was really focusing on Natasha and Elena.
Right, yeah.
But as soon as they started kind of bringing in the parents, when they started bringing in, it was still good, but I found my attention span kind of weaning, kind of not as invested, not as interested in their story as much as I wanted to see more of the sisters.
Yeah, the sisters and a little bit more Rachel Weisz, because they do interconnect in a specific way that we won't say in this review, more so than anything else. Like, I really felt kind of, you know, the connection with the three of them. And again, not saying David Harbour did a bad job or anything like that. He was fantastic. The comedic stuff, committed to it, was great. And we laughed a lot in this film, more than I expected. But like Dustin said, I felt like it took the attention away from the main storyline, which we were kind of more interested, just for the two of us, seeing the interaction between Natasha and Yelena, and of course, you know, Black Widow fleshing out her own story.
And one of the things that you really do want to have, I mean, that we were really looking for, is that connection to the surrounding MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, sorry, and seeing how, you know, these little threads attach from here to there. And we get a lot of that in the beginning. But of course, once you start getting a little bit deeper, you really don't get more of those attachments until the very end, when the whole of this thing starts to kind of knit together and this espionage kind of comes full circle.
Now let's talk about the action. We saw in the trailer that there was a fight between Natasha and Yelena. And it gave me full on, you know, like Jason Bourne style. And it is a dirty fight. It gets pretty nasty, it gets pretty rough. Both the ladies get tossed around.
Yeah.
And that's how I expected them to fight, especially two being brought up, have the same type of training. I loved seeing that, and as well as like the two of them, you know, using their skills either against each other or, you know, throughout the film to fend off the opponents that would jump in their way. And of course, we get to see Natasha face off against Taskmaster, which is, they said this in the movie exactly, and I feel like that describes it. It felt like they were fighting in the mirror. Whatever Taskmaster sees, Taskmaster can replicate. And I think for Natasha, that was kind of a rude awakening, where she was like, oh, I got to get a little bit more creative, but then they can still see it coming, which makes fighting Taskmaster a little tough. When it came to the action scenes with Taskmaster, I think they were done amazingly well. The choreography, the fighting, the way that they are able to kind of mimic those moves while they're able to kind of just see it at once and then be able to copy it. And I thought that was really, really cool. However, I feel like they took Taskmaster and turned them into kind of a robotic kind of anamorphic being as opposed to more of a character. I feel like I really wish that there would have been a little bit more of a personality. Like a Winter Soldier as opposed to... Yeah. To where it looks kind of... They took it and they kind of blanded them a little bit. I wanted to see a little bit more personality from Taskmaster than what we got. We actually have tons more to say about Taskmaster, but again, that falls into spoiler category. So we invite you to check out our spoiler review, link to our Patreon page that will be available in the coming days.
So overall, there were some really strong points in Act 1, the character building, the relationship between Natasha and Elena, and I found it to kind of teeter off just a little bit when they stopped focusing on some of the things that we really liked. The action that we really liked, but when they started focusing on other characters, it didn't hold up as strong. But Wendy, what is your rating for this movie?
You guys know that I've been waiting forever for this movie. I've been eating up the trailer. I've been dying to see, the Black Widow story, her origin. I love me a good spy thriller, which is basically what this movie is. I think Florence Pugh really shines in this movie. She definitely is a scene stealer for me, and I am just so happy that she is in this film because I was so ready to see this film. I definitely was hyped going in. Again, Act 1 was really, really strong for me. Act 2, kind of like what Dustin said, teetered off a little bit for me because I felt that I would have rather see them keep the focus on Natasha and Yelena, and I felt like they really took a bit more time than I expected away from them to focus on Red Guardian and Melina. But with that said, I enjoy this movie so much. I think it definitely deserves to be seen on the big screen. It is so action-packed. The fight scenes are so, so good. I'm going to go ahead and give this movie, check it out.
I'm right there with you. I enjoyed a lot of the action scenes. I enjoyed the relationship, and I'm going to give it a matinee.
Well, you guys, there you have it. Those are our non-spoiler review and thoughts of the movie Black Widow. Let us know what you thought of the film, sans spoilers, in the comment section below. And again, if you're looking for the spoiler review, that'll be available in the coming days, and I will link that below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.